Okay. So let us see, guys. Let us start with respect to Selenium. Okay. So Selenium is basically it is an automation tool, right? Like first, let us start to see like what is Selenium, right? So Selenium is an open source tool for automating web browsers. It allows us to simulate user actions like click, type, scroll, etc. And it helps in tests websites automatically. Okay. So basically, Selenium is an open source. Open source in the sense we don't have to pay any amount or any cost for taking the license of this particular software. Okay, so that is an open source tool. Selenium is an open source tool. If we are considering, there are other tools as well in the market, like for example we have SLQ tool, we have a QTP, FTP. So we have this kind of tools which are paid tools. Okay, so basically we have to pay an amount in order to take the license, in order to use it in our automation suites. Okay, so those are paid tool or also called as non-open source tools. But Selenium is an open source tool where we don't have to pay any license. It is free of cost. It is available free of cost. And why it is used? Basically, the main usage of Selenium is to automate the web browsers or automating web browsers, and it allows us to simulate the user actions like click, type, scroll, etc. Okay, which we will see in the future classes, that how we will be using Selenium in order to automate the test cases that we will be writing with respect to the regression. It might be different types of test cases that we use to perform. Okay, so first, basically what is Selenium? Selenium is an open source tool for automating the web browsers. Okay, and it will help us in simulating various user actions like click, type, scroll, etc. And it will help us in test websites automatically. Okay, to test the websites automatically. So this is Selenium. Now Selenium WebDriver architecture. Okay, see, basically whenever we have some tool, okay, that we are trying to use, it will have its own architecture, right? Like for example, if we are using a mobile, it will have a hardware, it will have its software, right? So everything will be an kind of architecture that we will be having. For example, if you are considering a car, so car will have its own architecture, like it will be having a chassis, it will be having tires, right? So communication will be with respect to the driver from the seat with the steering to the engine. So there is a communication, a clear architecture defined. Similarly, with respect to the Selenium automation tool as well, we will be having the WebDriver architecture. Okay, we'll be having the architecture. Now, what is this architecture will be consisting of with respect to Selenium is we will be having, first will be the Selenium language bindings. Let me try to zoom a bit, guys. Okay, Selenium language bindings. The Selenium language bindings are nothing but a programming language in which we will be making use of the Selenium dependencies with respect to jar file or with respect to pom.xml file. We'll be trying to include those dependencies in the language. That's the reason we learned Java till now, because for automation, any one programming language is required. Okay, for automation with Selenium, one programming language is required. So that's the reason we have considered Java. Okay, so we will be writing Java code, and once we write the Java code, it will be interacting with the JSON wire protocols with browser drivers. Okay, see, first thing is the Selenium language bindings, or also called as test scripts. Okay, so basically we write test code in the language like Java, Python, C Sharp, etc. using Selenium WebDriver API. Okay, this is the first layer, the Selenium language bindings. This is the first layer. Now, for example, we have written some set of code here. This set of code will launch the Chrome driver, and it will launch google.com. Okay, so that is nothing but this particular first layer in the Selenium WebDriver architecture, that is Selenium language bindings. Okay, Now once we have written this kind of code that we will be writing in the Eclipse, it will be interacting with the WebDriver APIs. Okay, so these are the interfaces between our test scripts that we will be writing in Java and the browsers. Okay, it provides language bindings to communicate with the browser drivers. It might be Java bindings or Python bindings, C# binding, depending upon the language that we have selected for automation. Okay, so first thing will be the test scripts, then we will be making use of WebDriver API. Then comes into picture the browser drivers. Okay, see, here we make use of Java binding, then it will be interacting with the JSON wire protocol. The JSON wire protocol will in turn interact with the drivers. Now, what are drivers? See, drivers are nothing but they act as a bridge between our code and the browser. Okay, see, we write our code in our Eclipse, right? Now how to interact with Eclipse to the browsers? There should be some intermediate, right? So that gap is filled by the drivers. Okay, so drivers are nothing but basically the .exe file. Okay, they are .exe files like this. Okay, they are .exe files. I'll show you guys in the practicals that how we will be making use of drivers in order to interact with our Eclipse with that of the browsers. Okay, that I'll show you. But what are browser drivers? Browser drivers are nothing but it has its own driver which implements the WebDriver interface. See, these drivers are different for different browsers. Like for example, for the Chrome, we have Chrome driver. For Firefox, we have Gecko driver. For Edge, we have Edge driver. Okay, basically an intermediate. This is an intermediate between our code and the browser. Our code and the browser. Okay, those help us in interacting with the browsers, real-time browsers. With respect to drivers, the drivers will help us. Now once we write our code in Java binding in Java or any programming language, the interaction will be with the help of JSON wire protocol to the browser driver. The browser driver will be interacting with real browsers. Then real browser will give us the response, and from the response it will give us the response to the browser drivers. The browser driver with the help of JSON wire protocol gives us back. This will be the cycle, like in this way, going in this way and coming returning back in this way. Okay, so test scripts and the WebDriver API are the component of Selenium language binding and JSON wire protocol. Then we will be having the drivers. Then after the driver, we will be having the real browsers. Real browsers are nothing but it might be a Chrome browser or an Edge browser or a Firefox browser. So this is Chrome browser, right? So like that, we will be making use of the interaction of the Java of the language binding with that of the drivers, and the drivers will turn interact with the browsers. Okay, so this is an architecture, like how the Selenium architecture we have. Okay,